So, one of the more worrying appointments from Liz Truss's cabinet is certainly Jacob Rees-Mogg, and to give his full title, the Minister for Business and, of course, Energy. Two very, very worrying things, because in that remit that he will have, first of all, Jacob Rees-Mogg is responsible. He is the prime person who is meant to help solve all our energy crises. Remember, this is a guy who is a climate skeptic. Openly, he's into his climate denialism. He doesn't think that anything that, man-made pollution has anything to do with our current climate crisis, which should be very worrying considering almost that is what he is in charge of. Now, the other worrying thing that we've got to certainly worry about as well is he is in charge of business as well. And that puts him in charge of a raft of regulations that he could just get rid of like that. And this is a guy whose very instinct is there should be no regulation whatsoever. And you may remember when Kersey Kutang came into office as the business secretary and mooted that he may want to get rid of the working time directive, there was a lot of pushback and he backed down on it. But Jacob Rees-Mogg, well, I think he's the type of guy who will just go ahead for it because ideologically, this is what he wants to get rid of. Not only will he get rid of that, he could get rid of a swathe of workers' rights in the UK. And that is something we've got to worry about. But what we're talking about today, of course, is the fact that he's also in charge of energy. And to say that you've put Jacob Rees-Mogg and his massive denial of climate change and climate skepticism in this position at a time where we need people who are willing to look into alternatives and put forward alternative solutions to our energy crisis, not just, well, let's just drill for more North Sea oil, even though we've seen a massive decline in the North Sea oil because, well, there's not much oil left there. Same for gas. What exactly is he going to do? To be honest, it's quite worrying, the fact that this guy has been put in charge of such an important job, and especially at a time where we need someone who knows what to do. But needless to say, it will be good to see Jacob spar against Ed Miliband, because to be honest, I think Ed Miliband has been doing a cracking job as Shadow Business and Energy Secretary, and I think this is someone who he is going to absolutely love to spar against. So we'll have at least those good sessions to watch probably in the coming weeks and months. So let's get over to this then. But before we do that, before we jump into that, please do remember to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And of course, there is the YouTube thank you button down below as well. And of course, there's the YouTube subscription thing you can join as well, called the Pony Club, where you get badges, emojis, and of course, you get a free super chat a month as well. So, as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help support the channel. And like I say, even if you do, just click like and share. Every bit helps. So, let's get on with it today. So, this comes from The Guardian with the title of Record for Climate Denialism Indicates How Rees-Mogg Will Handle Energy Brief. Squeezing every last cubic inch of gas from the North Sea, restarting fracking, rejecting wind farms in favour of fossil fuels, the policies espoused by Jacob Rees-Mogg, and against a backdrop of rising energy prices, from a clear indication of how the new business secretary will view his brief. Rees-Mogg will be at the core cabinet minister as Secretary of State for Business and Energy, with a responsibility of meeting the UK's legally binding target of net zero greenhouse emissions by 2050. It is a goal he has previously described as a long way off and a huge regulatory cost. So already you can see he's going into this job. Yeah. This is probably not going to be good, especially for the environment, especially if it continues this way. Late on Tuesday night, Number 10 announced that Graham Stewart would become the Minister for Climate Change and be attending in cabinet, proposing proposing speculation and Downing Street had succumbed to the concerns of the Green Tories about giving a role to Rees Mogg as originally planned. Tom Burke, the co-founder of the green think tank Energy of E3G and a veteran advisor to governments, summed up the views of many, saying, he has showed no sign of understanding the complexity or the opportunity of net zero. There is nothing in his whole track record that shows any understanding of this issue. The single most important thing to do in energy policy now is to bring demand down. I have no confidence that he will take this forward. So you can already see no one has any confidence that he is going to do this job well. But anyway, it continues. An investor in oil and coal mining, what a surprise, through Somerset Capital Management, the fund management firm that he co-founded, still benefits financially. And Rees Mogg has had many times voiced climate denialism, even to the extent of misrepresenting climate science. In 2014, he told sharp politicians that the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change had found efforts to stop climate change would only work in the very long term. He claimed that, quote, if you read the IPCC report, the report on the climate emergency, it said that if you were to take action now and try to stop man-made global warming, you would have to no effect for 100 years or possibly 1,000 years. I'm all in favor of long-term policymaking, but I think you're trying to forecast the climate for 1,000 years, and what little steps you're making now are having the ability to change it is unrealistic. I think is the cost and probably unaffordable. In fact, the ICC report found that efforts to stop burning fossil fuels now were essential, and failure to do so would have an impact lasting thousands of years. So, as you can see, quite the climate denialist. Rees Mogg, the old Etonian, has been an MP for over 12 years and has been a prominent Brexiteer, leader of the House of Commons, and most recently, Minister for Brexit Opportunities. Though he had voted broadly with the Conservative government on issues outside Brexit, his voting record shows very little indication to champion green policies such as net zero, and a zeal for post-Brexit deregulation that campaigners fear will be carried over. Rebecca Newsom, the head of politics at Greenpeace UK, said Rees Mogg is the last person who should be in charge of Energy Brief. At the worst possible moment, he blamed climate alarmism for high energy bills, pushing David Camron to, quote, cut the green cap for incentives for solar, wind energy and efficiency, which has added over £150 to every energy bill. Appointing him to the brief now suggests that the Tories have learned nothing from years of energy policy incompetence. Once again, very stern words from people who just goes, why on earth would you put this guy in place? Well, it's because Liz Truss is the puppet of the ERG, and of course, who's one of the key figures in the ERG? It's Jacob Rees-Mogg. Anyway, back to it. He takes the brief at a time of unprecedented crisis for the UK's energy industry, for the bill payers, and both domestic and in business. And millions of people are likely to struggle to pay their heating bills this winter. And even the price cap promised by the Prime Minister Liz Truss will leave many households choosing between heating and eating. And small businesses are already facing ruin without governmental help. The UK is so badly off track to meet its net zero commitments, despite strong evidence that action to meet them would also bring down bills. The standards in need for vital energy investment in renewables and low carbon infrastructure, green businesses and investors may find having a green energy skeptic as a cabinet minister in charge does not inspire confidence. David Trims, head of the political affairs at Friends of the Earth, said this: Extracting more fossil fuels is a false solution to the energy crisis. It's our future and to end our reliance on gas and oil that sent energy bills soaring and left us teetering on the brink of a catastrophic climate change. We need a forward looking, modern energy strategy based on better home insulation and unleashing the full potential of the UK's homegrown renewables power, not rooted in dirty fossil fuels of the past. And this is where things might change. But even though, as we'll get into it, Katang did change his mind when he became, business and energy minister on this, given the fact that he has been such a climate skeptic and so hard-headed and refused to even willing to listen to the alternatives, I'm very skeptical that Rees Mogg will change his mind. So, Rees Mogg's most recent predecessor offers a different example. Kersey Katang, now Chancellor of the Exchequer under Truss. He took office under Boris Johnson as a confirmed deregulator and one of the authors of Britannia Unchained, the pamphlet that advocated a radical free market. But close associates say that he changed his mind while in office. And early this year, he took a strong stance in favor of renewables as a solution to the Ukraine related to energy price rises. One said, I heard Katang say that all his instincts were free market, but the more he understood the energy policy, the more he understood the need for innovation, said Sean Spicer, the executive director of the Green Alliance think tank. Hopefully, Rees Mogg could go the same way, but nothing about him shows any particular willingness to learn or to change his mind. And that is what we are looking at the moment under this. One of the most important positions at this moment in time, energy. We've talked a lot about how the fact that while it is important to talk about, houses and people heating their homes this winter, the fact that there is no offer for small businesses, not even just small businesses, but medium-sized businesses as well, is very worrying. And we are going to probably be hearing very, very soon, as we've seen in the past couple of weeks, we've seen stories ramp up about businesses worried paying their energy bills. I think the longer no support goes on, I think we're going to start seeing stories of multiple small businesses, maybe even bigger businesses, start to close their doors or even wind down some operations so that, well, they can pay their energy bills. And I cannot see why you would put someone like this in charge in such an important time where we are in a middle of a crisis and you've elected the guy who wants to do so many wrong things, which are not going to take us forward, but take us, well, not just take us backward, but drag us backwards. So as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.